Good day, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to learn how to draft a strapless bustier top. And so what I'm starting out with is marking my neckline, which is 3 inches. Then I would equally mark out my shoulder measurements divided by 2, so that's the second line there. And then I start marking my shoulder to bust, shoulder to waist, shoulder to hip measurements. Do not forget that when you're drafting a bustier, it's important to include your under bust after your bust measurements. And so what I'm doing here is remarking it again so I get a straight line. Like I've said earlier in the previous videos, these lines are quite important because there are a lot of them, and so as not to get confused. Then I proceed to draw my neck depth, which is about 2.5 inches to the 3 inches that I drew earlier for my neck width, and I'm connecting my neckline. So depending on the neckline you're going for, but this is not important yet now. What I'm doing next is connecting the neckline to my shoulder slope. Then after I connect that to the shoulder slope, I then try to get out my chest line. But before that, what I do is identify each line. So the bust line, the under bust line, the waistline, and my hip line. It's important to highlight it for especially if you're a beginner. This method is beginner friendly as it helps you to follow accordingly. Then I go 2 inches above my bust line for my chest line, and then I connect a straight line from my shoulder slope. So once I've connected it from the shoulder slope to the chest line, then I am connecting my neckline as well so I can have a clearer picture. And then you get to the middle of the armhole line. Then I proceed to go in by half way of the armhole line, and so what I'm doing is connecting the edge of the shoulder slope to the middle point and then back to our chest line, which contains our bust measurements divided by 4 plus sewing allowance. And so what I did here is I placed my nipple to nipple measurements from my bust to my hip, the nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2, and also connecting that point from the bust to the middle point of my shoulder measurements. And so it's important to start marking out the darts now from that nipple to nipple measurement darts that we had previously. So I focus on the side facing the armhole that has a larger dart than the side facing the neckline. That's how I understand it. So let's say if the side facing the armhole has about 1 inch, the side facing the neckline will have about 0.5 inch. And so what I do is you mark a straight line from the underbust to the hip line, connecting all that dots together. And then you would equally have an inward curve that is connecting the underbust to the bust line. So from the dots we've marked now, we need to have a curve that would connect from the underbust to the initial nipple to nipple dart on our bust line. If you understand what I'm saying, just take a look at what I'm doing. Exactly. So that way we've gotten the bottom bust, and now to get our previous, we need to identify the dart that's been taken in the bodies, and then we'll replicate it as well in the upper parts for our neckline. And so that dart is taken from the straight line we connected from the bust to the shoulder. And so on your neckline, depending on how high you want it to be from your chest line or how low you want it to be, then I mark out the darts on both sides on that nipple to nipple dart I connected to my shoulder, and I'm taking it out equally. And so from there, what I'm doing is drafting out my neckline. So you can use your tape rule to identify how deep you want your cleavage to be, or how wide you want it to be, or how curved in you want it to be. That's depending on your personal preference. And so what I do now is to start marking on my body measurements. At this point, it's super important to not forget the darts inside that bust area, and you include it with your body measurement divided by 4 and your sewing allowance. Then you include the exact body measurements for the bust divided by 4 on the bust line, and so you do the same for the waistline and the hip. Do not forget to include the dart on the waist and the dart on the hip. But then at this point, you can also decide to measure out how long you want the top to be or how short. So if you want it to come up the hip part about 4 inches high, so it will not be too long, depending on how you want it. If you want it to end on the waist exactly, it is based on the style you're going for. And so what next you do is you connect the dots from the chest line or your neckline, then down to your hip line. And at this point, it's important to mark your side darts. This is very important. And so to get your side dart, you measure out your shoulder to waist in front minus your shoulder to waist at the back. You know, in front you have bust, and so that bust takes out a lot of that bust takes out some inches compared to the back. And so we want it to be aligned at the side together. So once we place the front and the back, the sides of both, the side of the front and the back will align. And so what we do is we take out that side dart. And so that's it for today. Thank you.